This weekend, Nightcap with Erica is all about money, power, and respect. Look in the sky. Is it a bird? Is it a plane? Is it a superhero or a super hoe? Professor John Jennings teaches us about the Black superhero. Love Coach Candace Harper and Coach KJ tell us how money, power, and respect affect our sex. Hey, it's Erica from the South Side of the Chi, and I just completed the 2020 census. If you're not counted in, you'll be counted out. And I don't know about you, baby, but I want to be in, not out. What are you waiting for? Take the census. Go to 2020census.gov. What's up, everybody? Happy Friday, man. And welcome to Nightcap with Erica. I'm Erica, so that's the Erica part. And my nightcap part tonight, of course, is Creative Click Cocktails. As you can see, I always show them love because they're here in Chicago, based on the South Side. And you can follow them on Instagram, order your drinks from them, and they will deliver them. And with all the craziness that's going on in the Lord, technical difficulties. That's it's one of those days. Can y'all see me? I'm here. Thanks for hanging in there. I was saying that I'm excited to have this drink tonight. Now, if y'all are anything like me, we all need a drink. So let me know where you are, what you're drinking, what you're doing. And yeah, let me put the information up really quickly for my small businesses that I want to shout out. You got Creative Click Cocktail. I got my So Rebellish earrings on. My new glass from Starlight's Lady. A woman custom made this glass. It looks a little dusty on here. That's my fingerprint, y'all. Sorry. And then also I gotta make a nice shout out to Glyph Sputnik. See my shirt? I don't know if y'all can see it. This is a Chicago-based comic arts graphic designer. And since we're talking all about the arts tonight and design and superheroes and super hoes, I wanted to show some love to them because they're Chicago based. So I want to do that. If y'all can't tell, I'm a little out of it. We all know what's going on in the world. I created this show because of the coronavirus stuff, right? And I wanted something that we could focus on and have some fun with to get our minds off of all the crazy stuff that's going on in the world. And I don't know, I'm not feeling so funny today. I actually had thought about canceling my whole entire weekend of shows because I'm like, the world is hurting. I'm hurting. It's been a lot. It's too much. And I'm just not focused. I'm all over the place. So I hope y'all bear with me tonight. I love you all. I hope y'all love me too. And we're going to get through this. But I have to tell you, it's been very sad and frustrating at the state of the world, especially during a pandemic. And it just feels like the world is against us right now. And I'm trying to be as optimistic as possible, right? And keeping it real. With keeping it real, though, I have to say, I feel lost. I don't know what to do, where to turn. If there's any time, goddamn it, that we need a superhero, it's right now, especially a Black superhero. And I don't know, just I got really emotional today in particular. First, I want to definitely acknowledge a bit of the craziness because it's a lot. This world has a lot going on right now. But with the murder of George Floyd, with the drama with the two Coopers in New York in Central Park, where the woman did her Karen thing and called the police on the black man. Then we have also earlier this year the death of Ahmaud Arbery and Breonna Taylor's death, her killing, the killing of them. I don't want to say death, it's the killing of them. It's blowing my mind that if we didn't know before, we should know now, that in many ways it's like an all-out assault and attack on Black people in the world. I have to be careful about what I say in some ways, because not that I'm a superstar, but when you are a public figure, the things that come out of your mouth, people run with it and take it to extremes sometimes, and don't even really truly hear you out with what you're really trying to say. So I'm trying to be careful, and I'm not even a person that really self-edits, but I think that during this time where words have so much power, we should be thoughtful. But as a Black woman living in this country that has Black men that I love, in particular, I just want to talk about Black men right now, because we're all hurting and we're all suffering, but focusing on the Black men. When you're a sister like I am, you all are mothers, wives, girlfriends, lovers, you spend the majority of your time worrying about the Black men that you love. We all do. We all go through it. And for me, I have a brother who I have spent my entire life worrying about somebody harming him. If not somebody out in the streets, it has been worrying about him dying to the hands of police or some violence in some way. That's what happens when you actually really love a Black man and you have that anxiety that you live with daily, every day, just thinking about them and what may happen. The things that are going on in the world today are affecting us all, Black women and Black men. Breonna Taylor was killed in her sleep in her bedroom. So I am not diminishing Black women in any way by bringing this up. But I have to say, in regards to Black men, I've spent the majority of my life worried about my little brother. So many of you all know him. He's probably more popular than me. And today, my brother mentioned to friends and family that today was the 19th anniversary of him being a Chicago police officer. So knowing my brother and how he rolls, I know there may be some ways that he felt like, well, should I announce this today because of all this going on in the world? But he's also one of the good ones and very proud of his work. So I understand why he would want to acknowledge it. But I remember, and I'm sorry to go off on this long tangent, but I remember the day the letter came to my parents' house to let us know that he had gotten accepted into the academy 19 years ago. And my mother got the letter and she opened it. She should have been minding her business, but mama's a nosy. And she opened the letter. And I remember she came into the room where I was in and she was crying. And of course, I went into something must be wrong. What's happened with Eric? But she was like, he got in. He got in the academy. He's in the academy. And I started to shed a tear too, not as much as my mother, but I did this sigh of relief. And I swear to y'all, I've thought about this for years and years. What was that about? And for me, it was the sigh of relief where I was like, okay, well, if he gets to be on that side, it'll protect him in some ways so that he won't fall victim or be powerless on the other side in the streets. But the reality is, when he takes off his uniform and his badge, what he wears every day proudly is that he is a Black man. So it doesn't matter if he has a badge or a gun. The world still sees him as a threat. So it don't matter. The worry I have still exists for my brother living in this world. And I can't imagine what Black officers are really even going through at this time. But it's not about them right now. I just brought that up to say that even when you have a family member that is a police officer and they're a Black man, you see the duality of the world that they live in. And this shit is real and it's hard. And I fear for my brother's life every day, and my nephew, and ours. So, with that being said, why am I crying? Because I'm just emotional because this shit is real. But let me get this together before I bring my guests up. My shows all weekend are about money, power, and respect. And I had came up with that theme already before any of this stuff happened, just thinking about the ways in which money, power, and respect, those elements affect the way in which we go about what we want in life. And I started saying, okay, well, what aspects of this do I want to talk about this weekend? Not just simply first you get the money, then you get the power, and then you get some respect. I didn't want to talk about it in that way. I wanted to think about in what ways are Black people suffering or hitting up against brick walls because of the issues of money, power, and respect. I also started thinking about, damn, I wish Black Panther was real. I wish there was a superhero that could just come in and save the day and protect us all. And also, although we do have real superheroes in life, there are people behind the scenes that are creating superheroes, that are creating these characters that do the kind of things I want a superhero to do in real life on the screen. So I was like, who is the master of superheroes? It's my friend, John Jennings, who's a professor. And I was like, I'm going to reach out to John. And I want to talk to him specifically about the aspects of money, power, and respect in the comic book world that make it hard or difficult to even create Black men and women that are superheroes fictionally, let alone in the real life. I want to talk about comic arts. Are artists getting paid what they should? What is the money behind the scenes? How is it flowing to artists and creators like John and others? And with all that's going on in the world, how does that affect their creativity and their art? Because John has recently created a new superhero, and I want to talk to him about that. Sorry if I'm rambling. I'm feeling away, as my Jamaican or my West Indian friends say, feel away, man. This shit that's going on in the world is a lot. And I know that we're all hurting. And once again, because I know the backlash is, she started her show off talking about crying about a cop. No, I'm saying, because people are they scrutinize words. I'm saying that being a person that has spent her whole life hoping and praying that her brother can navigate in the streets and be safe for years, all his whole life, and me having the naivete that, oh, well, if he becomes a police officer, he'll be protected. But the truth is, Black people are victimized by the police just as much as we are victimized by what's in the streets. So my worry has not stopped. And every day I make sure I say a prayer before I go to bed at night that my brother comes home to his family and to me. And knowing what happened with George Floyd and the other Black people that have been killed at the hands of police. I know there's crime in the streets. I hate when people bring up, what about Black on Black crime? There's no such thing. Nobody talks about white on white crime or Asian on Asian crime. This whole facade of Black on Black crime, this smear campaign put off about Black people that we are so ultra violent and unruly and can't be tamed is some bullshit. So we're not talking about that today. We're talking about the people that we pay to protect and serve us. When they don't do their job, they should be held accountable and they need to be put under a jail. With that being said, I'm gonna wipe my little tears and have me a drink, because a bitch is going through it. And we all need to understand that this attack and this war is on all of us. We got to protect ourselves. We're talking about guns and Black women on Sunday, by the way. With that being said, I'm going to bring up my friend who is the professor of media and cultural studies at the Cultural Studies Department at the University of California at Riverside. I think of him as the superhero of Black superheroes, meaning that if I have a question about a Marvel movie or something I'm seeing on TV, I call John right away, like, can you explain this to me? Can you break it down? And I thought, who else to talk about the cultural things that are going on and figuring out how we can manifest those things in the arts. I want to bring up Professor John Jennings. Sorry to cry before I bring you up, John.
I was like, I just want to sit and listen to you. I was like, man, and I also, you know, was in my feelings about this too. I mean, it's been a rough. How's it go? You know, it's you know, I'm really tired because I've been Black all week. You know what I'm saying? You know, that whole idea. Like it's been.
Yeah. Really, oh my God.
Really rough. And you know, in my and I actually teach a class on specifically on Afrofuturism and the politics of the Black superhero. Like that's the type. So we literally just talk about Black superheroes and politics, you know, in this class. It took me 2 years to get it on the books. It's not a special topics class. It's on the books. This is a media and cultural studies course that I will be continually teaching, you know, and we have really, really serious discussions about the construction of the superhero. What is, you know, the problematic, you know, ideas around superheroes, because they are problematic, just like all kinds of power structures, you know. And also, what does it mean to be a Black superhero? Like, so if it's problematic, then, you know, what is the purpose of a African American superhero? You know, so yeah, so those are some of the things we unpack. You know, we get class structures. We look at intersectional politics around class, gender. You know, and we have some top creators who like zoom into our class. So it's been real, and like all the things you just said, and all the things you were talking.
Oh, it sounds.
You would, yeah. I should send you some of the links because we you know, we cover a lot of ground, you know, it's because like actually like Monday, David F. Walker is zooming into our class. Sorry, that's my baby. I'm sorry. I don't know if you hear him.
Oh, your baby. That's super baby.
Yeah. He got it. Yeah, it's hilarious. Anyway,
you know what? I'm gonna show you a surprise. Let me do a surprise right here. Let me see if this works. Oh wait, let me go back. I'm gonna
It's like live TV. It's funny.
Excuse me, y'all.
I do have
I'm so like, when I tell you I'm out of it. Boom! There we go. That's some of your artwork in the back. That's my background tonight.
Right. That's the character.
Even though I cut his head off.
It's cool. I mean, I know you can show him in the slideshow if you want to, but that's his character, Rhythm Traveler. That was created by me and Stacey Robinson. Black Kirby is what we call ourselves, and you know, the poet Amiri Baraka, he has a science fiction story called Rhythm Travel.
Yes.
That's about a time travel mechanism that you can basically listen to music and time travel through music. And I was like, whoa, what a dope idea. So we actually like sampled that idea and turned him into like a character that rights wrongs throughout time by listening to Black music. And because the idea is that whenever that music is being played, you can travel to it. Here's a Amiri Baraka story. That's crazy, right? Yeah, that's our heritage.
Damn. Okay, we gotta check that out.
Right.
So, man.
Super inventive.
So let me ask you, I mean, with all that's going on, like we really need a superhero right now, right?
Yeah. I mean,
historically though, I feel like Black superheroes, just like Black people in real life, when you get an opportunity to help or change or put in a position of power, you are held to a certain standard because you have to have a conscience because of the way we've been treated and what we've gone through in the world. You can't, a Black superhero can't be as reckless as some of the other superheroes can be. But when you look at life right now, it's like, can Black Panther do anything? I'm like, what kind of superhero do we need today?
You know, it's interesting because, you know, and we really need like several shows to cover this because this is actually way more complex than you can imagine. Like, for instance, in mainstream comics, they have this idea called legacy characters. And what I mean by that is that you have like a base character, like for instance, like a Superman, right? But you also have Superboy, Supergirl, right? You have Batman, you have Robin, you have all these different spin-off characters, right? So the character, the Falcon, in the comic book, actually, his name's Sam Wilson, he became Captain America for a little bit, right? He inherited, just like the movies, he got the shield. He's not going to be Captain America, right? So one of the first things I thought about was like, well, shoot, this is when Ferguson was jumping off. I actually did an image of the Falcon as Captain America with his hands up, saying don't shoot. Because for the same idea that you're talking about with your brother, same thing deals with this brother is draped in the American flag, right?
Right.
And he still will be seen as the enemy, still be seen as a negatively, you know, because of the types of propaganda that have actually like constructed race in our country. So that's so that was the image that I did. As soon as I saw it, I was like, oh well, shoot. You know, what would the Falcon do as Captain America if he went down to Ferguson? He would be, you know, held up by the police.
Right.
You know?
I mean, would a black superhero be even allowed to do his job? It seems like there would the smear campaign on him would be he would be seen as a threat.
Well, yeah, definitely. And so I don't know if you've ever read. Are you familiar with the character Static Shock?
No. I don't. I don't know anything about anything.
Well, I used Static Shock because he had a cartoon series on WB. He had electrical powers. Anyway,
okay,
it's based on these this character called Static. There's a line of comics that came out for this company called Milestone Media. One of the first things that they did was focus directly on the fact that when Icon and Rocket get a chance to actually become superheroes, you know, and this is actually like he's a conservative superhero that actually is brought to action by this, you know, lower middle class young lady who is she's his sidekick, and she's the one that actually like pushes the story. And it's the first episode, the first adventure that they go on, they try to help the police, and the cliffhanger is all the guns are trained on them immediately. So wow. Yeah, that's how it starts out. That's the first issue. And so it's like so when it's a very different thing, like when Black people are actually able to tell these stories, you know, we can't turn away from the way that our bodies have been constricted and constructed in America around around race and around, you know, class and gender, you know, and yeah, so you bring up a really good point. I mean, in one context, you know, and I was talking to I have a colleague named, her name is Erica as well, Erica Lloyd, and she teaches in psychology. And I met her at a dinner party. Her husband is a huge comics fan. And she's like, she doesn't like superheroes because she feels like Black people are waiting for someone to save them, you know? And I was like, yo, that's a really interesting point. So, you know, me and my friend David Brame and some of my other collaborators, we have this character called the Mighty Struggle. And the Mighty Struggle actually is a superhero that really is more about like a communal superhero, so to speak. So he has this, so that's the character.
Is this him?
That's him right there. So basically, or one aspect of the struggle. And so the story is like this. So basically what happens is in the 1920s, there's this fire and brimstone preacher who's like really preaching like, you know, freedom, politics through religion. His wife is a conjure woman. She does hoodoo and conjure, right? So he gets picked up by the Klan. He gets taken to a tree, you know, which is like you're saying, like, this is a real thing that has happened to hundreds of people in our country, right, of color. So he's hung for speaking out against, you know, white supremacy. But his wife is a conjure woman, so she captures his soul in the branch that he's hung on. And she cuts it out of the tree, and then she becomes the first entity called the Mighty Struggle. And she basically punishes the people that actually killed her husband. And then what happens is that branch is called the weight, and it's passed down from generation to generation, and it chooses who's going to be the next struggle. Yeah, actually, the first story is going to be called "Who's Going to Take the Weight," and so we're like, you know, because everybody can't handle it the whole time, and so the idea, yeah, so that's a character that we create. I'm working on that now, actually, because one of my first things is like, well, how would a Black superhero function, you know, and what would his politics be? Now, I think you've met Stanford, my friend that's an anthropologist, right? He's also a comic scholar from Chicago.
Okay.
And he has this idea of constituencies in superheroes. And what he means by that is like each superhero has a constituency. So for instance, Daredevil fights in Hell's Kitchen. Luke Cage is in Harlem, right? Flash is in Central City, right? Batman's in Gotham, you know. But for the most part, those characters are, you know, except for Luke Cage, are protecting white people and like white property. And, you know, Superman protects the world, but he's in Metropolis.
Right.
He saves mostly white folk, right? And so we're like, well, a character like Black Lightning. Black Lightning's in the TV show. He's in Freeland, right? So he's working directly with Black community. He's a teacher, you know. He's a father. He's a mentor, and he's working with the Black community directly and protecting, you know, I would want for something like this, I want him on the ground.
Right. That's what we need.
He needs someone like that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because the whole thing with Black Panthers a king and he has a country. So he actually is like a figurehead of an entire like African nation. Whether it's so the sort of politics of that are very different, you know.
Yeah. And I one thing that you've brought up to me too is the fact that, you know, Black Panther was created by two Jewish guys, and
Lee and Jack Kirby.
Right. Yeah. And so it's really interesting because we're still getting a Black man being presented to us as a superhero through the eyes of men that are not Black. They may empathize with the struggle and and that kind of thing, but they're not. How important is it that we have more creators like you behind the scenes? And with that, my question is, everybody that's Black doesn't feel the same, doesn't think the same, doesn't have the same ideologies, doesn't have the same type of politics. Can you be a Black superhero if you're a Republican superhero? You know what I mean? Like,
well, you can't. Well, that's what I was getting at. Icon was a Republican.
Okay.
The one I was talking about from Milestone, that's what made it so interesting, is that the character actually lives through slavery. He actually grows up through slavery. So he sticks with the party of Lincoln. So he's conservative. And so he meets a young Black woman named Raquel, who actually is coming. She's from, you know, from the hood, right? And so she's coming with her particular politic, and she's the one that actually pushes him to become a superhero. So it's told, that's what's so cool about Icon and Rocket, is that it's told through the eyes of the sidekick.
Wow.
So there are, I mean, and I like the idea, like, for instance, you do have notions of, like, people still see us as a monolith, whether they want to admit it or not, right? Yes, I think definitely, like, when you have black creators working on characters, you know, most of the time when you have Black creators working on characters, even mainstream characters, you're going to get a more, for lack of a better word, authentic, you know, connection to, you know, what those politics are going to be. Black Panther is a perfect example. So yes, Jack Kirby and Stan Lee created him. He first appeared in like 1966 in Fantastic Four, number 52 and 53, right? Well, he beats the hell out of Fantastic Four. It's crazy. And yeah, but Jack Kirby didn't know that. I mean, he wanted to create something, like you said, that was representative of, he had Black friends he wanted to feel, that he wanted to empower, right? And that's usually what happens. Like the people that Black Lightning was created by Tony Isabella with help from like Trevor Von Eden, right? He's been a stalwart supporter of that character too. Like he's written some great political, strong, you know, Black centered stories, right? In fact, one of the ones that Tony Isabella wrote about Black Lightning was called Cold Dead Hands. That was inspired by the Tamir Rice incident. So
wow.
In DC Comics. So anyway, so if you look at like the history of Black Panther, the majority of those, like some of the basic, like really, really amazing mythologies that you saw in like the movie were created by a white writer named Don McGregor. So Don was like, no, this character should be in Africa and everybody should be Black.
Right.
Yeah.
It's so interesting.
It's not, and this is in the 70s, right? So you're like, what? And you don't see any white people except for maybe one villain, you know, and the main villain that are all Black, right? Even the villains, everybody, right? And then of course later on you have writers like Reginald Hudlin, you know, the director, producer. He wrote a really, really strong entry called, you know, several strong entries into the Black Panther. And also Christopher Priest also did a really great one. He created the Dora Milaje actually. So in his
wow.
Yeah, so it's like, you know, so when you have these Black characters, and of course, even our girl Nettie Okorafor wrote.
Yes, Nettie. Yes.
Also,
shout out to Nettie.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, because I really loved her run on Shuri, for instance, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, and then of course you have Ta-Nehisi Coates, who kind of uses the Black Panther to deconstruct. At first, it's like he deconstructs like colonialism through using this character as a trope about colonialism, because he's very like kind of anti like monarchy, right? Because one of the problems about the Black Panther, he's a king. He is a king. Yeah, it's like it's not a democracy. And with Black Panther, the fact that he is a king, probably of the richest nation in the world, people don't know that. Right.
Can he necessarily relate to the problems of the diaspora across the world?
And this is when it becomes interesting, right?
Right. And yes. And then because to me, Killmonger is probably the character that I identified with the most in the Black Panther.
He's literally African American. You know?
Right, like for real, he's African American, and he's, you know, grew up without a mother that pretty much kind of abandoned him, right? She went off and did her thing. So there's a little bit of some narcissism on his part, abandonment. Like, he has all these things that I think that many African Americans can relate to.
He's a beautiful, problematic character.
Yes, he is. But what I'm wondering is, in some ways, he's not a literal superhero. We don't really have superheroes in real life. But no, I think that some people thought that Obama in real life would have been somewhat of a superhero. But when you're the leader of the free world, you cannot just be Black people's president. You are the president of the world. So nobody asks, you know, when you have a Superman or even an Iron Man or somebody, racial politics don't come into play. They're white men. They still have white privilege. No one is holding them to a certain standard of art in that way. But as a Black superhero, can you be a Black superhero and be a superhero to the world, or are you supposed to just focus on Black things?
And this is something that a lot of us debate about, right? So because you have like different levels, different power levels of characters. So for instance, like a character like Black Lightning is probably like a mid-level powered character where he has electrical powers, which in some plot ways probably represents like Black power, like literally, right? But you got characters like Monica Rambeau, the first, you know, female Captain Marvel character, right? The Black one. She can actually turn into different types of electromagnetic energy, right? So she's actually a very powerful character, or a character like Storm, right, who can control the weather. So, you know, I think the power level sometimes is connected to like exactly how many things that they can get done in the world because of their power level. So for instance, you have a character like John Stewart, right, who is the first Black Green Lantern, is introduced in like the late 70s actually by Neil Adams and Denny O'Neil. And so he comes in, he's like very, very angry Black Power Lantern, right? But this is a character that actually has an extremely, he's basically put into play to a certain degree to help police the galaxy, right? So you have a character like a street level character, like say a Luke Cage. You start off with Luke Cage. He's pretty much guarding, you know, Harlem, you know. You have a character like John Stewart where he's exploring different planets. He's fighting against like really, really large threats. And what's really cool now is you have a Black woman who has a Green Lantern ring. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Her name is Sojourner Mullen. She's created by N.K. Jemisin, and she's writing it the hell out of this book too. It's called Far Sector. Wow. So check it out. So Sojourner Mullen, like your brother, is a cop, right? So what happens is she sees an event. What happens with her partner, who's a white man, you know, basically beats a Black man, you know, with excessive force, and she does a whistleblower kind of thing with him, right? And so what ends up happening is she loses her job because some people took pictures of it and tagged her in it, and so they used that as a way to kind of say, well, you breached the protocols for the department around social media standards, and they fired her. So she's drinking at the bar. This dope Black sister come up. She's like got the regalia on and stuff with the Green Lantern thing. She said, "So, you want a job, huh?" And so she actually gives her the power ring, and now she's policing this planet, this where these three different races live together. And because they were at war before, they actually do this process where they don't have emotions. And she's the person on the planet with emotions. Right? Damn. Yeah, it's dope. And so, but the other thing too is that it's a murder mystery, because despite the fact that you have these people who don't have emotions, someone gets killed. So you're dealing with the fact that you have this Black woman she moves from one type of policing to a more like intergalactic, you know, notion of like what policing is, and then she still has to deal with the fact that she's a Black woman on this planet, right? So it's like, yeah, so you're right. I mean, this thing called race is constructed idea. I think it's a design to a certain degree too, because it's so visual. There's so many visual components to it. You mentioned Chris Cooper, right? The Christian Cooper incident, right? Mm-hmm. Guess what he used to be back in the day?
I read about that he worked for Marvel.
He used to work for Marvel as an editor, right?
That's crazy.
This brother's a bird watcher. He literally has binoculars where he's like looking for birds, right? And this woman like, you know, tries to call the cops on him because he wanted her to leash her dog, you know, right? So, can I read you something right quick?
Yeah.
It's this, because this is I'm doing this talk, like I said, on Tuesday about race with the Sundance Institute. And one of my favorite passages is from this book called The Racial Contract. And it's by Charles W. Mills. And it's like just a quick paragraph.
Okay, yeah, please read it.
I have it pulled up. So there will be white mythologies, invented Orients, invented Africas, invented Americas, with a correspondingly fabricated population. Countries that never were, inhabited by people who never were, Calibans and Tontos, Man Fridays and Sambos, but who attain a virtual reality through their existence in travelers' tales, folk myths, popular and highbrow fiction, colonial reports, scholarly theory, Hollywood cinema, living in the white imagination and determinately imposed upon their alarmed real-life counterparts. So
wow.
This particular piece is that it talks about the fact that we live in this kind of like twisted virtual reality where, it's almost like, what Du Bois is talking about, like, they don't see particular things from the veil. Like some certain white people don't see us. It's almost like a cloaking device or something like that. So I started thinking about like, well, this is a type of reading. This is a type of like, legibility, to borrow from Mark Anthony Neal's book, Looking for Leroy. He talks about black masculinity and legibility, like you can't see us properly because you're not taught how to read, different levels of black masculinity. As you're saying, people don't perform their blackness in the same way because we're not a monolith, We're
not a monolith. We're so different.
Right. And so, but what happens is, I always use to my students when I talk about race, I talk about Peter Pan, right? So the first time you see Peter Pan, and Wendy meets him in the movie, right? The first thing that Peter Pan's trying to do is what? Catch his shadow. Mm-hmm. Because what is a thing without his shadow?
What is right?
So what happens is, he tries to attach a shadow because blackness, traditionally has been constructed as the shadow of whiteness. So it holds the antithesis of everything that whiteness is supposed to be.
Right.
So what happens is like when you detach that shadow, then everybody starts looking at whiteness. So that's why you have whiteness studies now, actually, as a race. Because up until fairly recently, whiteness wasn't even considered like racialized in any way, right? And so now that's changed quite a bit because now you're looking at the fact that, what happens to you when your shadow has its own stories,
right?
Its own needs, when it needs its own justice, it needs its own.
Exactly. And even with that, I always I know the saying is basically when the lion tells the tale, the hunter dies, right? And if we're constantly reading stories from the hunter's point of view, so of course the hunter slays the dragon, he slays the lion, but the lion has a side to the story, and with that, it's just like it seems, and more important than ever before, that we have visibility and tell our stories. But the thing is, there's been an all-out smear campaign against Black people of African descent in this country since our time here. And specifically with Black men and Black bodies, the bodies of Black men. You all have been hypersexualized. You're the most violent. You're the most, all these things.
We're super predators.
Super predators. So it's almost like it would work against that smear campaign to have Black men as superheroes. Because if I'm saying you're fearless and strong and fear no one and can fight anything and slay every dragon, now I've given the lion an opportunity to tell the tale. And I just don't, how do you deal with that in this world? Like being a designer and a writer yourself, like when you walk into a room, there's still just only you most of the time.
Right. I mean, for the most part, most of my career, I have been, to borrow from Archie Boston, who's like one of the first Black art directors in history. He has a book called Being a Fly in a Buttermilk, and that's kind of like been my experience up until fairly recently. Like, from like grad school all the way up to now. I've been in the academy for like 20 years. And, I did teach at Jackson State back in my home state of Mississippi for about 4 years. Right after grad school when we met, actually. We've been friends for a long time.
Yes, everybody, John and I have been friends since what,
93?
Yeah, probably since
1994
'93.
or something like that. So, first of all, the first thing is that the burden of talking about race is always on the shoulders of the racialized, which has always been messed up. So honestly, like the people who should be having these conversations about racism, and this is borrowed from Toni Morrison, James Baldwin, is like, yo, this is your problem.
It's your problem. It's your sickness.
Right. I was just rewatching I'm Not Your Negro yesterday. He's like, yo, James Baldwin was talking about the idea that, well, if you need an N-word, you have to figure out why you need it. You know what I'm saying? Why did you create this thing? And then, as Charles Mills is talking about, project it onto me. Because that has nothing to do with me, So you have that. And what's interesting to me is like Black writers have been talking about this construction, from Franz Fanon to Du Bois. I mean, Du Bois wrote Souls of Black folk, what? Early 1900s, right? Mm. So we know what's going on, but because we have lack of access to different power structures, we haven't been to deal with it. So what I've taken upon myself is to think about race as a design. So I have this theoretical framework called critical race design studies that's looking at the fact that racism and race actually kind of functions as what they call a design fiction. Mm. Yeah, and if you think about it, it's like it's this construct. And then, as you're saying, you said smear campaign. You can use the word propaganda. You can use the word advertising, right? Mm-hmm.
I always say Black people need a new publicist.
A new publicist, exactly.
Yeah, and exactly. When a couple years ago, when I would do stand up about that, people would get really upset with me. Mm-hmm. I've even had Black people tell me that I was minimalizing things, and I'm like, no,
you're not.
It truly is. It boils down to feeding the world a lie.
Exactly.
And then the lie takes a life of its own.
That's
the
exactly
same
right.
way a restaurant tells you that you got this juicy 100% all beef burger, and you eat that shit and ain't nothing about it burger like. It ain't no beef, right?
Our bodies have literally been like rewritten. And this is part of my talk. I talk about the first time I really realized that I was a racialized person was when I saw Roots for the first time. I was like 7, right? And I saw the Black people on Roots who look like me and who look like my granddaddy, right? And I think about the scene where Kunta Kinte becomes Toby. Mm-hmm. Right? So he's literally being rewritten by physically
and rewired.
Yes. But he also gives up that idea of being Toby for survival, because he realized he's in a space that he can't survive as Kunta Kinte. And so I have this idea called the Kun-Toby moment, because for a split second he's both. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And so there's this idea called a palimpsest. It's a term from like the Middle Ages. So basically, you familiar with those scrolls that they used to use, like the part?
Yeah.
That's actually like flesh. That's animal flesh, right? That's been, flattened out. And a palimpsest, you would actually write on it and then you scribble over it. It's actually like a medieval version of a dry erase board.
Okay.
It's like you use it over and over again, right? That's how Black bodies have been used. That's how Blackness has been constructed, and we have not had the most agency in constructing. That's why, like, when people said African American, I said, no, you know what? I'm good being Black. Black is fine. That's what I am. Black, Stop hyphenating me. You don't get to rewrite me, that kind of thing, right? And so I was thinking about the idea that, this, like you're saying, like it is a construction of a lie, that's been projected upon Black folk. Because think about it. Think about being a white Christian slave owner and having to wrestle with the fact that that you have children that you've sired in the slave quarters, right? Or that that the people that these are people that you have enslaved, right? So you have to create. Sorry,
this is like when that white journalist was on CNN or whatever.
Yes.
And the baby, I'm waiting for Tawana and the baby to come through and
they've done it. Excuse me, they've done it before. And so these are things that I wrestle with in my classes. I teach like visual culture and race a lot of times, so we have like really, really straight up conversations about like this construction of race. A lot of it's visual. A lot of it's about like the perception of visual difference, the phenotype, like skin, this kind of stuff. And then we internalize it. That's why we get stuff like the brown bag test, even that is a designed object, that kind of thing. So it's like race is this artifact that we just inherited, You don't pop out the womb like, hey, I'm a Black person, right? No, that is something that is learned through like behavioral or like structures that are in place, you know.
Right. Well, you know, it's oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say either you accept that or reject it, you know, and that's just the space that we're in, you know. But one thing I did want to mention right quick is my colleague Erica Lloyd. Another thing she said to me that I thought was really interesting is that a lot of times these narratives are definitely in conversation with like white power structures. You know?
Yes.
So with Afrofuturism, like, can you get to a space where that particular struggle isn't happening?
There's no colonialism.
Right.
None of that ever happened. And then
All Black Everything by Lupe Fiasco.
Right.
Yeah. When it's like, so that, you know, you have to go into like an alternative space to find that. So I told us like, I'm almost 50 years old. I was born like in 70, and I'm still really angry about what's happened. I'm still dealing with that. And I'm still trying to create work that deals with, you know, these particular issues. I mean, now I have a Black son to raise now. So,
right.
So the Afro future has taken on a very different turn for me in the last like year. He'll be a year.
Right. What happened, child? You know, right. Well, you know, it's interesting because when you look at the history, even of Black existence in cartoons and comics, you know, even some of our favorites had very not racist undertones, which is full on, flat out racist. And now that we've grown to where people can actually start to even think that the idea of a Black man or woman being a superhero, we've come a long way. So I don't want to discredit the situation. We've definitely come a long way.
No, you're absolutely right. In fact, not to cut you off, but my friend Jabari Asim, he has this book called What Obama Means. Because you're talking about Obama as a superhero, right? So he has a whole chapter about the fact that we'd had like Black leading men, you know, in film that actually white people could see, like, oh, wait a minute. Well, you know, Sidney Poitier was pretty cool. Morgan Freeman actually made a good president. You know, maybe this guy, you know, so you have to imagine even Tiny Lister from The Fifth Element. You know, he was the president of the universe.
Right. He was but at the same time, though, I feel like there's so many ways where masculinity, as far as how it manifests in African American men, there's a box that they're comfortable with as long as you stay here.
That's what.
But if you go too far, either way, it'll be a problem. And I when we talk about the emasculation of Black men in particular, and that's a touchy subject, people get upset. But as much as we want to acknowledge those men that may be more on the feminine spectrum, what is a society though that doesn't allow even Black men to be extremely masculine, not hyper masculine, or what's the masculine that's called when it's like dysfunctional masculinity?
Misogyny.
Right.
That exists too, because there's an overcompensation. But yeah, you bring up a really good point. Like, for instance, up until like everybody knows that, you know, Blade, the film Blade, was a really, really big entry point into like really cool superhero stories. Post Batman and Robin, which was trash, kind of like ended. They were like, okay, we're done. You know, this is after the heyday of like superheroes. But when you look at Blade, you know, Blade is like everything that you need in like a cool Black superhero. It's very much a throwback to like Blaxploitation era. But, you know, there are some like hyper masculine aspects to that character, right? And so, you know, and literally if you think about it, like he's kind of like a walking representation of Du Boisian double consciousness, because he's a Dhampir. He's half vampire. He's, you know, so he's literally tugging, like he hates part of himself. You know what I'm saying? It's a really interesting character. And I can go on. I have other things about Blade I might bring up, but
because we didn't get. I want to talk about another day though. But Blade, Black Panther, like you got to break all these things down for us, especially where they're problematic.
What were the other movies about Black superheroes before then though? Steel with Shaq, which actually is not a great. It's like low budgety looking. It's not well realized. You had Mantis, the TV show that people forget about. That actually was really the season, like the pilot of it was actually very Afrocentric. He was smart, and it became like really, really kind of watered down. And it was only on for like a year, right, on Fox.
Okay.
Then you had like Meteor Man, right?
Meteor Man, yeah.
But it's a comedy.
It's a comedy.
Hancock comes later on. That's also comedy, but that becomes problematic for different reasons too. But then you also have some like Blank Man, or if you want to put like Undercover Brother, all these, they're all comedy. So you have a place where you don't actually have like a serious black superhero, right?
Right. And not a dude that's coming through that's super masculine without the toxicness of it. Because masculinity shouldn't be a negative thing.
Right. And Blade is mostly he's laying hands on black women left and right. Like he literally like knocks a black girl through like glass. It's like,
right. And it's with stuff like that though. I'm like, but she was
kicking his ass though.
She was whooping his ass. That's the thing. Am I supposed to say the Dora Milaje can only fight other women? Like, it's such a tricky thing.
It's very tricky, right? But he's like, like for instance, I mean, like when he bites Karen on the neck, the hematologist that helps him, she says no.
Ooh. And he still does it.
He's like, I'm biting you. You're like, hold up. Did this just become like a sexual assault?
Right. Like this is so not consent. John, I know we got to move on just because I got to bring my other guests up, but I want to go through some of your, first of all, I want to tell y'all.
We didn't even talk about the business side of stuff, which is crazy.
Right. Because we got to talk about the business and I'm sorry, y'all. I've been messing with my, damn headphones the whole show.
I don't really mess with
John is a very modest person. I just want to read you all a little bit of his bio because those of you all that are not nerds like me and in this comic book thing, like you don't even know that this academic world of comic books and graphic art exists. John is like the king of the king, and to be a black man in this world it's like crazy. So I want to read to you all. John Jennings co-edited the Eisner Award-winning anthology, The Blacker the Ink, Constructions of Black Identity in Comics and Sequential Art. That sounds really smart, y'all. He is a professor of media and cultural studies at the University of Chicago, Riverside, and was awarded the Nasir Jones Hip Hop Fellowship at Harvard's Hutchins Center for African and African American Research. He has written several books on African American comic creators. His research is concerned with the topics of representation and authenticity, visual culture, visual literacy, social justice, and design pedagogy. He is an accomplished designer, author, illustrator, cartoonist, and award-winning graphic novelist. John is the shit, basically. He is a goddamn superhero, okay? And I'm sorry I usually don't read bios, but for something like this, especially, I want people to know that who you are is a very unique and interesting thing. And it's like, you won the Nas Genius Fellowship, dude, at Harvard.
Hey, I love the fact that you just kind of remix what that is. I appreciate that.
Right. He won the Nas best leading superhero award, Academy. I done fucked it all up. He won a BET Soul Award for comic graphic arts.
That's right. Anyway, you're silly.
Right.
And this is great because it's not in that particular piece, not to be, because I do a lot of work on horror, race and horror as well.
Yes. While you're talking, I want to show some of your pieces because you actually, you have a great collaborative relationship with Jordan Peele.
Well, I mean, a little bit.
Yes. Okay.
This is a piece that ended up on one of the Us, trailers or what have you, but yeah, I mean, he's an awesome creator. And I think like in some ways I try to model what I'm doing in comics after what he's trying to do in film, So thanks for showing that,
Yeah. And
Traveler,
and now he's in our background, but I cut his head off. Sorry, superhero.
Yeah. He's more like the Sun Ra and like George Clinton and that kind of thing, because he basically is a time traveler using music to travel. Like I said.
Wow.
Yeah, the Smoke King. He's not necessarily a superhero. He's inspired by W.B. Du Bois's poem, "The Song of Smoke."
Wow, it looks beautiful.
Next.
Who is this?
That's Blue Hand Mojo. Well, it's a book called Blue Hand Mojo. Are you familiar with the blues man Robert Johnson, who sold his soul to the devil?
To the devil, yeah.
So he's the fictitious cousin of Robert Johnson. And he basically became a hoodoo man, and he basically is collecting souls that resonate music in a particular way, because he's trying to compose this song to keep the devil company while he's in hell. So yeah.
Oh.
So yeah, it's a really interesting character. This is a character I just made up yesterday, actually, because of the George Floyd stuff, because the murder of George Floyd. So you
just drew him yesterday?
I just made last night. For one of the last things I drew last night. I was working with him, but he's called the description. And so the idea is like
that.
Yeah, so the idea is that a lot of times Black folk will get pulled over, or like they'll get stopped and frisked, or they'll get hung up by police because they fit the description, right? And so I thought it'd be kind of cool to actually kind of flip that idea that this character has technology that changes his face. That's why he has these different patch make. His face is like Rorschach, where it's like he's indecipherable by by people's eyes or by like cameras and things like that. And so he's a crusader against like police violence and stuff like that. He's called the description. So he looks different to different people, but he's obviously a man of color, but he's also kind of vague, in that kind of way. So he has technology that makes him vague, kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. Damn. That's a superpower that I'm sure most Black men, Black people, period, wish they could have right now.
It's really cool.
To be nondescript.
The character, Mr. Terrific from DC Comics, he actually is invisible to technology. And he has 14 PhDs. It's a dope character. It's one of my favorite. Yeah, he's super genius. It's a Black character. Yes. I
need to marry him in real life. It sounds like he got some money. Does he have Black Panther money?
Well, it's close. He's an inventor, so he has a lot of patents. So
okay.
Yeah, you can check him out. His name is Mr. Terrific. So this is the murder. This is a villain, actually. So you're familiar with what they call like a bunch of crows is a murder, like a murder of crows.
Yeah.
Yeah. So or like a flock of seagulls, or whatever, right? But a murder is a bunch of crows. So he's the spirit of Jim Crow.
The whole system of Jim Crow.
Exactly. So what happens is, the murderer will possess a racist white person's body and use their body, and then once he's done, their skin will fall away and explode in all these different crows. So yes, you're absolutely right. You picked it. Yeah. So it's like murder. He's the villain of the mighty struggle. He's like his joke. Yeah.
So
he's like a system of
villain. This guy right here.
That's right.
That's his villain.
It's his villain. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Now tell me this one.
Oh, Green Jack. So Green Jack is, you familiar with the character Swamp Thing? He's a representation of like nature, right? Are you familiar with the Punisher?
A little bit.
He kills criminals. So take those two and put them together. So basically he's this character that actually protects nature. And so what he'll do is so Mother Nature will call him to like take out corporations and stuff that are destroying the environment. So what he does, he doesn't kill people. He changes them into plants. So he'll do to replenish the carbon, to mess with like the carbon footprint, or the carbon dioxide footprint. So he actually like has these spores that he has in a gun. He'll shoot them into your body, and your body will rewrite itself as a plant.
Man, maybe he should time travel so he could go back during this period of lynching and be turned into some of the trees that he himself is hanging people from.
Exactly. He's a cool character.
I could write for a superhero. I keep telling you, fuck with me, John. Fuck with me. Let me write some of your stuff.
In time, after after we're done with this demic.
Right. Give us I actually and I won't get too much into it, but a graphic novel is what I want to do. And there's a teenage superhero that I've created, and I'm doing some stuff for. So this is beautiful.
I mean, in general, we need heroes, whether they're problematic. We need characters to look out for us, and a lot of times, the superheroes that we know are created by like really, really massive corporations. Even a character as wonderful as Miles Morales is owned by Disney,
Wow.
So, people forget that DC Comics is owned by Warner Brothers, right?
They own
DC. So Warner Brothers owns Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman and Green Lantern and The Flash. That's all like one company. So it's like what happens is like when you have that much power, you take up all the conversation. Like there's, my research is in like looking at Black independent comics, right? Mm-hmm. There's a ton of like Black superhero comics like that are out there, like stuff like Brother Man from back in the 90s. You have Milestone Media, Nowhere Man. There's stuff that Roosevelt Pitt's putting out. There's Keith and Jones's work out here. This Jason Reeves' work. Like it's a bunch of stuff, you know. And also a bunch of sisters actually working as well, like people like Regine Sawyer, Che Grayson, who are writing comics, making comics, Alita Martinez, you know, who are making, you know, their comics and stuff, and actually working in the industry as editors and writers. But that gets erased, you know, a lot of times. But, you know, yeah. And so
I'll have to have you back on and talk about that.
We out here. Yeah, because actually I definitely there are some weird things happening with the industry because of the pandemic. But, you know, one thing that's really interesting is that mainstream comics have one distributor. They have a monopoly. They call it Diamond Distribution, right? So a lot of the so that's who distributes directly to the comic book stores. Since a lot of us are independents and we don't have the numbers to actually be picked up by the catalog, the shutdown really hasn't messed with us that much.
Bet you at, because you've already been
shut out anyway.
Anyway, wow. Yeah, but John, I have to have you come back on.
Yeah.
It's so much to unpack. I mean,
I told you, like, this is that's why I have an entire class just about Black superheroes.
John, a lot of people want to know if there a way I thought I put your Instagram on. No, I didn't, because I didn't know.
Instagram is cool.
If you would want people to know, but can what is your Instagram? I'm gonna put it in the comments right here.
John Jennings Arts.
John Jennings Art. John Jennings.
Oh, let me see. Let me make sure, because I changed it. Hold up.
Yeah. I think that's it. I'm just gonna put that. If that ain't it, y'all will find it.
It is.
And before you go, wait, somebody has a comment for you.
John Jennings Art. Yes. Okay. All right.
This person said, "Oh wow, I've never been into comics like that, but the deep thought and execution behind these characters is great and intriguing. Thanks for highlighting these." Yeah, thanks, John.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, the thing is like, you know, everything has everything's more than a notion, and everything's more complex than we imagine. You know what I'm saying? That's the thing. So
yeah, people are saying,
what's up, Darius? That's my dude.
He said, "Great forum." Oh, Clint is in here. He might have been gone by now, though.
Oh,
Clint is like, "Hey, Clint, you have I." That's right, you have I stand up. John, you know I love you. Yeah. I knew this conversation was going to go a little longer. That's why I had asked my other guests to log it a little later. But I don't want to have them waiting anymore, because you and me are sitting here talking about comics forever, and you got a baby to take care of. But yeah, what's up, Clint?
Dude, oh my God, Clint.
Yes, you advise in the house for real. So, John, normally I'm a better host. Like I said, I'm a little out of it.
This is great. I'm glad that you got a chance to talk about it's traumatic living as a Black person in America, period. Yeah. So yes, we need more heroes. We need people to look out for us, and you know what? And we need people to save us sometimes too. We can have that fantasy. There's nothing wrong with that. You know,
there's nothing wrong with being saved.
Right.
I want to say, hold up your drink. I don't know if you still got any left,
a little bit.
Having a nightcap with you has been great. And I want to let you know that you, when it comes to comic arts, especially, you are a superhero in my eyes. I love your work. I love your intelligence. You are one of the most brilliant people that I know. I will call you and ask you questions about a superhero, and we will talk forever. And
it's scary when I on my phone. I'm like, oh shit, it's 2 hours.
Right, we're talking on the phone 2 hours. But I remember seeing, because I've never been a comic book person. I don't know any. I know Batman. I know Eartha Kitt was Cat Lady, right?
Catwoman. You did it on purpose. Can you do it?
The Cat Lady. No, I did.
She's always with cats anyway.
She's the Cat Lady. Had a bunch of cats. Right. You know, I messed stuff up. But I remember when I went to go see the Iron Man movie, and it was because everybody was, talking about it, and it was this big thing. And I was like, I'm gonna call John. I remember that night I went to see the movie, and afterwards I called you, and you broke down everything to me about Iron Man, the Marvel universe, and then I stayed up the rest of the night researching everything.
Yeah, well, it's really
right, because I was like, oh, this is
too. That it's interesting. You bring up a really good point. Like, people who are in mainstream comics, think that everybody outside of mainstream comics, which is actually kind of an oxymoron, honestly, because outside of Superman, Spider-Man, Batman, Wonder Woman, it gets real vague real fast.
Right.
Yeah, like if it's not on TV, people don't know what it is.
Well, let me end by saying this. I love nerds. I think nerds are super sexy. And I know the best way for me to get one is at Comic-Con. So I'm trying to read up on all this stuff So I can pull me a hot nerd that doesn't know he's
They out
hot,
there.
that
They
doesn't
out
know he's sexy. Hopefully he has a very large penis, and I can come at him and talk about all this Iron Man shit and be flipping it like I know what I'm talking about. Like, yeah, because you see, Iron Man did this, and this.
with
And
the
then he'll be so
Republican
impressed,
grade.
like, oh my God, I found the love of my life. But he doesn't know that I've just been scheming on his ass. And
Wikipedia.
right. And every time he'll bring up something I don't know. I'm like, boom, I'm gonna call John and he gonna break it down. Then I come out like I'm so intelligent. So
Stop
it's
it.
all part of my sinister plan.
Oh, see, and we need more
I'm
supervillains too. By the way, we need more Mr. Glass out there. That's a whole other discussion. Yeah,
I would love to, I would love to be. I want a plus size superhero and a supervillain. I'm gonna just write it. I'm gonna do it.
Amanda, I mean, there's some of those out there. Okay, you know, I need to.
You need to tell me. I need to know, and because I need them on my show, and I want a big girl that can actually fly, because I think there might aerodynamically be some issues there, but we're gonna figure it out. And she gonna be plus size and flying her big ass all around and like stomping motherfuckers.
So violent.
Right. She can be the superhero and the villain all in one, like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Yeah, see, actually, I have a story that is kind of like that. It's interesting. But anyway, yeah, we got to go.
Let's talk about it, John. Okay. I love you, John.
Love you too.
Superheroes live forever. And because of you, I am fully equipped to go out there and get that black nerd that's into comic books. It's all because of you. He'll have you to thank for all the nasty stuff I do to him late at night. Okay.
He's so bad.
Yeah. Okay, John, I love you. I'll see you later.
All right, Erica. See you later.
Bye. Woo, John got me in a good mood. All right, y'all. First of all, I'm going to apologize to my next guest. We started a little later. Because like I said, I almost didn't come on. I wanted to cancel the show tonight, but I'm glad I didn't. Speaking of superheroes, y'all, and this whole idea of money, power, and respect, which this was my show is about. We're about to have a real juicy conversation. Do me a favor that you're watching, share this out now and tell people to tune in, because we're going to have our adult time conversation. We talked about comic books and art and cartoons, and now we're going to get into some real stuff, right? So yeah, as I was thinking about this whole aspect of money, power, and respect and the way it affects every aspect of our lives, I was like, one place where it really comes up a lot is in dating and relationships, marriages, and when it comes to sex. Like, does who have the power, have the money, and also have the respect? And just like we have superheroes, we also have super hoes, serial daters, people that are out here just soiling their royal oats, out here getting their freak on, being nasty, doing what y'all do. Because not me, because I'm saved and sanctified. No, I've had my whole tendencies, like everybody else. Being a hoe is fun. But with that comes issues if you're trying to transition to eventually really have a real relationship, right? You got to let a little bit of the whole tactics go, and at least keep them limited to the bedroom that you share with your partner. But when it comes to relationships, when you talk about money, does it matter who makes what? Can a relationship that isn't equal stand the test of time? Also, if I do the things I do with my hand, as long as he's buying me certain things and doing things for me financially, doesn't that make me somewhat of a hoe? Also, because if you're getting paid for it, and what's so wrong with getting paid for it? What's wrong with if I do something nasty and naughty for you, you do something nice and expensive for me? When it comes to the power struggle, now that women are making more money than men, how is that affecting those relationships? And I understand that all relationships aren't always heterosexual, monogamy, heteronormative. We have all different kind of ways that relationships manifest themselves, but gender and sexuality come into play when it comes to power, no matter how you look at it. Then also with the respect, once you've lost the respect of a partner, once they've lost your respect, can you continue a relationship? So I'm thinking about all these things, and I was like, let me bring some experts on that know what the hell they're talking about. So I have Coach KJ, also known as Kevin Anthony Johnson. He's a Fortune 500 executive coach and a life strategist from the South Side. So you know he knows what he's talking about. And he's the author of Groove Back, Lessons from a Life Coach on Healing, Loving, and Being Loved. Oh, that sounds like a juicy book, right? Oh, getting your groove back. That's important. So that means Kevin had to have had a marriage or something that broke up and he got his groove back. Look at me inferring. I don't know. We'll find out. Then I also have Candace Harper, who's a professional matchmaker and relationship coach with 8 years of experience working with singles and couples to create healthy relationships. And she has a show called Ask for Candy, which is a weekly podcast for people who want to create healthy relationships. And it's on iTunes, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. So we're going to have a real conversation with them about money, power, and respect, and how it affects your sex. Give it up for Candace and Coach KJ. Hey, y'all.
Hey.
Hey, y'all look so beautiful.
How y'all doing?
God. Thank you.
Got it.
Y'all, look, the show started with me crying, and now we're gonna laugh and have a good time. This has been
all
a
the
whirlwind,
all the
right? Because we're all. Let me
Mhm.
check in. How are you all doing? How you feeling? What's up with you, Coach KJ?
Well, it's been a rough week, as I think it has been for a lot of us. I've had the full gamut of emotions. I've curled up on my bed, just being at peace, being in quiet, and I've had some joyful moments with my clients and joyful moments with friends and family. So you got to get what you need where you can get it, because it's not often readily available to us. So we got to create our supply. We got to, go to the sources of energy and love and renewal that we can find. And that's been my experience this week. It's been a deep week for outreach to get support.
And I'm sure, and one thing is, like, with you all being superheroes at what you do, who saves the superhero?
Mm-hmm.
You all are helping people deal with their issues, and then you also are emotionally affected by the world. How you been hanging with it, Candace?
I love that you said that, Erica, because I feel like it is so internally polarizing, right? Because I consider myself to be a soldier for Black self-love, and I want to be the one that's like, we shall overcome. And then there's that other side of me that, yes, was in a ball of just grief. And, someone sent me, the first time I saw the George Floyd video, someone just sent it to my inbox, and it was traumatic because I didn't know what I was clicking into.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that combined with, always wanting to be that voice for, how do we overcome? How do we love ourselves? How do we not be demeaned? And then also struggling with this feels so horrible and rageful. It's hard to put those two things together in the same place.
Oh yeah,
it is, and it also plays right into this theme of money, power, and respect. For one thing, we're in COVID, so Black people are also already suffering in many ways with that. A lot of it having to do with economics and lack of access to things, and then with the power. Many times we feel powerless in this world, especially when we're dealing with policing systems, social justice, and then with the respect, it's like everybody want to be Black, but don't nobody want to be Black. Right. Everybody wants to take on our culture and be culture vultures, but then nobody wants to really be us and understand our pain. So I've been just dealing with it, and it's not. It happened to a Black man, but this stuff is like affecting all of us. We had Breonna Taylor. Am I saying her last name right? Yeah. Breonna, the young woman in Louisville, Kentucky, that was killed in her house, and then the Ahmaud killed by some vigilantes that needs to die under a jail, but things were covered up for them because they as killers still have power still in the in the policing world. It's just it's so much coming at us, and it's tough. So I'm glad y'all are having this conversation with me today. But I really want to talk about money, power, and respect in relation to relationships, dating, and sex. And like money is, like they say, the root of all evil. Is also the root to how a lot of us can get some action. Is money a bad thing? Should it not be a focal point when looking for a partner? Or is it okay to think about that mighty dollar when you are getting ready to share your love?
Who do you
Go
want?
for it, Candace. Go for it, Candace. Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. I don't think that money is a bad thing by any stretch of the imagination. I think that it's not the money itself that is the root of evil. It's the energy that we can possibly put on it. And when we make it the focal point, if we make chasing money the focal point, then it brings out all of the darkness of our humanity. But when it comes to love, I'm a matchmaker, so I'm a big believer. My algorithm is core values, lifestyle, and then physical sexual attraction. And so when it comes to love, if you're matching core values, your abundance will most likely be on some similar level. So if you know who you are and you know what's important to you, that's what you should be looking for in another person.
Wow. What do you say about that, Coach KJ?
I think that's well said.
Is money the root of evil?
Well, actually, so full disclosure, the first 34 years of my life, I grew up in the Pentecostal church. The last 24 of that 34 I spent in ministry. I've been in ministry from 14 to 34 years old.
Oh, now you tell me that after I've been doing all these curse words.
This is my little hook that I throw in on an interview like this. So it's actually the love of money that the Bible says is the root of all evil. And in that principle, and especially with your title, the power, money, respect. I can't remember the other one. Yeah,
money, power, respect.
Yeah, money, power, respect. It's like those things are things that if we place love upon them, as opposed to love upon ourselves or the divine source or whatever we want to call that, we then deny ourselves the power that really is ours. Yeah. So we're deflecting and saying there's more power in money than there is in myself. And so I'm going to give up my own power so that I can seek out money, or I'll give up my own power so that I can seek out sex, or give up my own power so that I can seek out respect. And those are things that put us in perilous places in relationships. Just about every failed relationship that I've experienced or seen or supported people through had been when people sacrificed their own power in that relationship.
Wow. But let me ask you, does the person with the money in the relationship have the power?
Well, it's a catch. It's a catch, because if the relationship base is founded on that, yes. How you enter into a relationship is how that relationship will be governed until there is a pivot point or a cataclysmic change in that relationship. So if you're dating with the perspective that I'm going to find somebody who has a lot of money or has a great deal of wealth or has a lot of influence or they can put it down on me in the bed, that's going to be the basis for your relationship. And it's going to take a serious pivot to get out of that, because that's where you've placed the foundation of your relationship.
Well, a lot of people say that you get what you pay for. So do I have to say, as a man, especially if you're going to come, if you want certain things, I feel like there's a certain price that comes with those things. And even with women, just same with us. I mean, I've even found I meet a lot of men because I'm single. I'm dating a little bit. I just made a Tinder profile, y'all. I'll tell you about that later. It's been a mess. But I find that even more men now are asking, well, what are you bringing to the table? And I'm like, motherfucker, I am the table. Don't worry about that. What are you bringing? But they're in full right to say, especially if they worked hard and they have things, they want a woman that can come and match them where they are. But is it that when it comes to sex and relationships, you do get what you pay for? What you're willing to spend either emotionally or financially is what you're going to get back.
Okay, I'll give you a nugget in there. There's a nugget in there that I'll agree with. And I think the degree to which you invest in a relationship has the potential for being the degree you get out of it. But it also, I think it always comes back to how you enter into a relationship. What the dating experience was like, whether you listened to the red flags up front or whether you just threw them out the window because you saw a big dick or you saw a big wallet or you saw a big car.
Yes, I've done that.
All my values out the window. Just like you said, Candace, if you're not basing it off of values, what are you basing it off of? And if it's transactional, it will always be transactional until you do otherwise. But beware, because if you start a relationship out as this for that, the moment you stop giving this, that will stop as well.
Stop giving that. Right. But Candace, what do you think though? Because okay, transactional, and no one I feel like should be tit for tat. But the reality is I feel like in many ways, if you're a guy in particular, talking about heteronormative relationships, should you be even out dating and trying to get women trying to get sex, if the money isn't solid, it isn't right. Case in point, I have a friend that's super beautiful. I mean, this girl is amazing. She's from Ghana. She walks into a room. She takes every man wants her that sees her. And because of that, she has told me she does not accept coffee dates. And I asked her, because I'm like, all I'm getting offered is coffee dates. And she said, no. She said, no, honey, coffee equates to quickness. Any man that thinks you are beautiful and the woman of his dreams and worth his time, he's going to have dinner with you, be it on first sight or not. She's like, men only offer coffee to somebody that they're not sure about, or that they are sure is just one of many that they're going to date. But if he likes you and wants to impress you, he's coming with a hot meal. But the others say, Candace, what's wrong with coffee? I mean,
well, nothing's wrong.
Let me know.
Okay, nothing's wrong with coffee, but the thing is, and what I like about what your friend is saying is that you get what you feel you deserve, right? So if coffee is okay for you and you don't mind that quickness, and that's the where you're working from, and you're okay with, let me check you out, I'll check you out, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with it at all. But if you're like a friend and you feel like, look, I want somebody who is going to go out of their way for me. And I think a lot of women do feel like deep down in your heart, you do want a man who's going to be like, I want you so much that I'm not going to make, money or time or anything like that stand in the way of how I can get to know you. So there's nothing wrong with it. You just got to know what you want. And if you want what you want, you have to know you deserve it.
So I'm like, whether it's a steak at Ruth Chris or a venti latte, the fact that he's spending anything and spending time, I should look deeper and say, okay, what's really here? Or is it kind of like, Kevin, let me know. Is a man if he's really into you and he thinks you're hot, is he gonna offer you a cup of coffee?
So
be real, Kevin.
I want to bail on this one because I have a very opinionated stance.
No,
very, very opinionated. Because here's the thing: how does a man know that about you? How do I know that you're worthy of an investment of my time, my energy, my hard-earned finances, if I haven't at least vetted some degree of the experience that I might have with you?
I love that.
So what I tell everyone, and I've written it extensively in my book, that the micro date is God's gift to every person in search of a relationship, because you literally get an opportunity to get a sense for the flavor of somebody, the vibe. You can observe all kinds of data in a small period of time, how they treat the staff, how they treat people around you, how they ordered their drink, how they reacted when you pulled out their chair, how they reacted when you opened the door for them, if that's what you do. So you get to see all of the little micro interactions in something like that. And so that's where you get all the data. So if you go out on a date and you spend $200 or $300 for lobster or whatever at wherever, you're placing that transaction as the data set for the potential of your relationship. So they come all dressed up, the dolled up hair, they got their new fingernails done, their eyelashes have been done, they got their face beat up. I mean, everything is tight, but you don't see them. You see them at their absolute best. And one of the things, as I was listening to John talk about mythology and how we tell stories, one of the greatest factors of mythology is the mask. And you look at all superheroes, just about all superheroes don a mask. Why?
They have a mask.
It's their alter ego. And Chris Rock called the representative. That's what happens when we spend a lot of money on a date. Because a man thinks that by exerting power, by money, by influence, by prestige, by impression, I'm going to win this person's heart. But is that really what you want? You want their heart to be won by what you have, or by who you are?
And who you really are.
Who I really am.
Right?
That's my bias there.
I want to say something to that because I don't disagree with you at all, Coach KJ. I actually think that you're really on point with that. But I also think too, there's something to be said for if whether it's a man or a woman, if I'm attached to the value of whatever it is that you're giving me, then you're absolutely right. Then my attachment to that is my mask, my representative. I'm going to be trying to be things to make you pay for that $300 dinner or whatever. Mm-hmm. And if I'm that man who's paying that money, and then I have an expectation, I have an attachment that I'm giving you value, so you owe me something. But I think there's something to be said for when we get to a place where we understand that loving somebody is, if I filled myself up, I overflow onto you because I love myself. I want to have a good time. I want you to have a good time. And that's a great place to start from. I think we've gotten to a point where we're so careful that we don't give too much, that we sort of, there's that fine balance between, okay, let me just do these micro dates, which there's nothing. I mean, I send people on micro dates all the time because a lot of people are game, but let me just do this because I don't want to invest too much because then I'm not going to get a return. So that's why I think it gets a little bit,
Well, I think to your friend's standards, if those are her standards, live up to those standards.
Yeah.
But if those are your standards, live up to those damn standards and be fully yourself on that date. Yeah. Don't be none of that shit. Just be yourself. Yeah. If you eat lobster, I want butter on your blouse. I want butter all over the place. I want you slinging shells and all kinds of shit. Because if that's how you really eat lobster, that's how I want you eating lobster on that date. Yeah. I'm talking like if this is a female client of mine, I tell them that do not go out on the day and eat all proper, and that's not how you really eat at home. Because what you want them to fall in love with is the real you. Even if the real you is dolled up and your hair is whipped and you drive a great car, show up as the real authentic yourself, then they really have a good place to identify and gel with who you are and figure out whether they want to spend more time with you. Because even after a $300 date, you could be like, I won't be going out with you again. It's really, how much do you want to spend for the same reaction?
Yeah.
Either way, you're going to get that kind of response. Or if it's transactional and all she wants is really some loving, or all he wants is some booty, then if both parties are agreed, there's no guilt or shame in that because everybody involved agrees on the terms of engagement.
Yeah.
But if both people going in with different expectations, that's trouble.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I probably am just like your clients because I go as bare as I can. You lucky if I wear a bra to our first date. I ain't wearing no bra.
I'm just keeping it real. Just put it right up on the table.
My hair. I ain't doing nothing. I might brush my teeth. I might not. You want to see me? You gonna get me. Now what? You still gonna buy me more than a venti latte, y'all. But also, but KJ, this is the thing. But do you think men honestly offer coffee dates to a bad bitch? I'm just saying. Coach KJ,
I'll put it like this. I will speak for myself. I have.
Okay.
And here's my logic. I never tell anybody to do something that I'm not willing to do.
Okay, I got to hear this.
So my logic behind that is, if they are attracted to me and I'm attracted to them, it does not matter what I offer them. If they're interested in getting to know me, they'll meet me there. And if they're not, that tells me something, and that gives me data about what their priorities and their values are.
Yeah.
And if they say, no, I'm not interested in that, then that's not really something I'm going to be interested in.
Well,
because that's my value. This is my values, right?
You're also very evolved. And, from the sounds of the title of your book, you done been through some shit. So you've had more than one possibly failed relationship. So now Coach KJ today, I don't know if you're the same Coach KJ as when you were 23 or 26 or 27 dating. But I do think a lot of guys out here where they go wrong is that they do lead. They let their pecker do the thinking, so to think.
Absolutely.
And they have these, standards based on superficial beauty. I personally believe that you should really like who you're with and should want to have sex with them and should think they're amazing. But I know even from my boys that are a little evolved that if a girl is super fine, a coffee date is not what they offer. Now, they may not give her a $300 dinner, but the coffee date is typically for the girl when they're not sure. She could end up being the woman of their dreams. But when they see one that's got the hips they like, the waist they like, the hair they like, the education they like, she ain't getting no venti latte. She not.
Maybe not. And again, that goes back to what is most important to them.
Yeah.
And if the authenticity is in, look, let's go dancing. Great. But I always tell folks, be intentional about what you're wanting out of a date.
Right.
If you're wanting to gather information, if you want to get to know someone, don't go to the movies if you want to get to know someone. Because you're just going to be staring at the same direction towards the screen. You're not going to talk to somebody. But you want to talk to someone, coffee date, maybe a dessert, maybe something light to eat. Because
Coach Jay, what about the possibility that because so many men do have that sort of energy around it, where they feel like the coffee date is a good, like the possibility that it could be a man testing to see if I just offer her this,
collecting data,
but don't you feel like on some level that makes it transactional as well? Like, so if she's down for me doing less, then that's going to be
but that's a whole different language.
Yeah,
right.
Well.
So if the intention, again, this is the intentions, right? Yeah. So, and this is what we're all looking for as we're dating. We're looking to understand the intentions of the other person.
Sure.
Like, do you want to take advantage of me, or do you want to really get to know me? Do you want my booty? Do you want my dick? What is it that you want?
Dick.
We want to know that. Thank you. So yeah, honesty.
Right.
And because if we can be honest about it, then we can actually have a real conversation together on that date. But if we go into it and we're like, I wonder if he's just taking me for a cheap date. Well, that's easy to say for the first one. But at the second date, he takes you out to dinner.
Okay.
It's progressive.
Now, what
if the third date, you go out on an activity, you go bowling, or you go out on a boat. And then the fifth date, you're actually at that $300 restaurant. Because you've actually evolved in how you've known someone, and you've been able to test. Because I feel like you should be able to test, kick the tires, so to speak, male or female, on the qualities of the person that you're dating. So if you're not testing during the dating process, you're missing out on all kinds of red flags that could be popping up and green flags that could be popping up. Because you're not saying, I want to go someplace where I'm going to experience what it's like for you to interact with people other than me. I'm going to go someplace that helps me see how you engage in groups.
Yes.
Because if I have a high value for group interaction and I find out that you'd rather be in a closet, I'm probably not going to enjoy that vibe. I know opposites attract, but in the dating process, there's got to be some kind of complementary aspect that involves. And so I always look for those clues to compatibility in the dating process. I don't like the idea of, we've all seen the dating profiles where you've got like 50, I don't want this.
Yeah.
Listed,
yeah.
And you never really know what they do want, but you know
what they do want, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like that's how we have been programmed to think about dating.
Well, that's just the truncated. I mean, the process is once you know what you don't want, then you get to get clear about what you do want. People sometimes get stuck.
Yeah.
Like stop at that part of the process, and it's a losing sort of position to be in dating. But the thing I'm worried about what you're saying, Coach KJ, is as much as when we're getting to know someone, there is a level of the testing process in that as we go along and do things organically, we get to see who a person is. But I think to actually set it up as I have this method where it's a testing method where let me take you here to see how you behave, and let me take you there. I think what we foster in that other person sometimes is that need to be enough. You try to live up to what you're trying to do so that I can be that one that makes it to the third date and let me try to be good enough. Which I think can happen for a man or a woman.
I get that. And I see where you got that from what I said. It's not that deliberate. Like, I don't have a checklist in my book. Like, okay, on date one, if they do this, I do not. I promise you, I do not. I have questions. I have questions in my book.
Okay.
Does this person align with your values? did you observe any behavior during the date that contradicted your values?
So
yes, exactly. You know, and also I have this thing that I call the hooks, and it's basically it's impression, scarcity, security, attraction. Those 4 things can get us caught up during the dating process and take us away from paying attention to red flags. And if we're not looking for those things and aware, conscious during the date, because it's all about, I kind of look at dating like meditation. Like we could be one-on-one with somebody. If I'm on a date with you, I'm actually sitting across the table from you, and I should be able to be present with you. That's the whole point. Why am I here if I'm not present with you and paying attention to what you say, what you think, what you feel, how you react to me?
Yeah.
That's all data for me. And if I don't leave that date and think about afterwards, I really liked how she did this, or I really enjoyed how she responded when I asked her this question, or I think there's a lot of alignment around this particular issue. Those things become a body of data that I'm accumulating with somebody. Now, I'm not like putting it in a spreadsheet or like, okay, this person passes, she gets date number 2. In a subconscious way, I am. But we do that anyway. We are thin slicing every date we go on.
Absolutely.
Come on, Candace.
There is a difference between perceiving someone and allowing someone to show you who they are, or guiding
but you're saying it's orchestrated, and that's not what this is. A coffee date, and we just have a conversation. My goal is to gather insight from what's happening.
Well, you just sound like an analytical person, and there are people like that.
But I'm not really. I'm actually more creative. This helped me navigate the dating space because I wasn't paying attention to that stuff. I was totally inundated by attraction, how impressive somebody was, how cute, how articulate. All these things were really impressive to me until I started to flip it and say, there's another side of data that I need to be gathering and paying attention to. And if I'm not, I'm selling my decision-making short.
And like you said, depending on what your intention is. So if your intention is to be in a relationship, but I also think too, like if I'm so connected with who I am and what's important to me, all I got to do is perceive that other person, and I'll know when they're aligning with me, opposed to going against me. And a lot of times people go against us and we push through and try to be with them anyway. That's where we get in trouble. Right? When we know they ain't part of our core values.
And absolutely, Candace. And to be aware enough to make that assessment, as you said, there are layers of consciousness that we're dealing with. Not everybody is approaching the dating process, thinking like, oh, I want to understand who they are. Some of them are like, I just want a woman, or I just want a man. I want somebody to help me, support me, help me raise my kids, help me navigate life, be my boo, or I just want to fuck. I mean, it's all of that is happening during the dating process. Right. And if we're not conscious of it, it can get away from us really fast.
Totally.
Well, let me ask you all about the power dynamics in relationships, whether you're dating or even once you've sealed the deal. Does who have the money have the power? And should it be seen that way? Is there power play at all time? Is it a tug of war relationships where sometimes one person has all the power and sometimes another person does? Or should we not even be discussing power at all when it comes to the people that you want to have long-lasting relationships with or sex? Unless by power you mean a dominatrix that whoops your ass to get you excited. But outside of power plays with sex in that way, should there be a power struggle at all in relationships? And if they are, what are some of the things that cause that to happen? What do you say, Candace?
Well, I mean, I think that when it comes to power struggles in relationships, it has to do with what we were talking about before, is intention. So if I'm clear about what I want in a relationship, and I begin a relationship with someone, and we have enough communication that we know we're on the same page, there's going to be times where I'm going to be more influential or you're going to be more influential. And as a partnership, it kind of flows back and forth depending on who's, strengths, who's got weaknesses, and who can take up for the other person. But it relies on the two people being enrolled in each other's vision. So if you're talking about power as in I influence and control what you do, if I'm using money in order to do that, on some level, I've basically bought you like a commodity. But if you're talking about real, true intimacy and partnership, the power comes from both of us at different times, depending on who we are at any given moment, if we have a shared vision and a shared goal together.
So let me ask you, Coach KJ, why do so many women that are powerful in life, maybe heads of companies or just a go-getter and leader out in the world, or a girl like me that just makes people laugh for a living, why is it so hard for us to find a man? See, this question is really about me, but I'm saying it's about everybody else.
I know. I got a whole answer already queued up for you based on that. But
so why is it that really strong, super brilliant, funny women tend to have issues with power in relationships? Like, it's almost, I will say for me, and even some of my other female friends that are comics, we talk about this, that because of what we do for a living, we get on stage with a mic in our hand and we command an audience of hundreds or maybe thousands of people at a time. Sometimes even having that kind of power in my professional world makes men shy away. And out here say, well, that wasn't a real man. What you need is a real man, because a real man, they say all that shit. But I've dated Wall Street guys, I've dated athletes, I've done everything. And once they come and see me on stage, they don't like me anymore. And I attribute it to that perception of has too much power. What do you say about that? Is there any truth to that?
It's a perceptive truth to them, and it's a disowning of their own power. And I would say, especially with Black men, we have been conditioned to disown our power. Yes. And in many ways socialized to disown our power. Whereas, we can't even be a father in a welfare home. We can't show up in that home without risking the income to your spouse or your girlfriend or your child. You risk that income to that household by being in that household, disempowering the man's presence. So that's just one little example of how Black men are disempowered. So when it comes to money and career and having social reputation and social respect, those things weigh heavily on Black men because we have very little access to it. And we place a lot of credence on, athletes and performers and entertainers because they wield such influence and power in the world. But that's also a projection. That's also extending our power to somebody else and saying we don't have that. So in a relationship, it shows up like I create drama to create power for me as a Black man. So I can't just let you have your power, Erica. I have to say, well, that was okay, but let me get you in this bedroom and I'm gonna fuck you so I can show you who's really powerful. Now, you might not mind that. You might not mind that. But understand that's a assertion of power in that context, right? And it financially, they may try to undermine you. They may try to make you overserve them. So there's all kinds of dynamics that emerge in that power structure because a man is trying to position himself as dominant as he has been instructed by the culture.
Right. Yeah. And the thing is, though, well, let me ask you, can a man truly, first of all, the money isn't a thing for me. Most of the men I date make much more money than me. And even I was dating a guy that was a Wall Street a trader. And I mean, he made money and everything was going fine. And he came to see my one-woman show and left halfway through the show and called me later and said he didn't think it was going to work out. And I was just like, you got more than me. And I am very submissive in many ways. What is the problem? It was almost like just having any kind of perceived power ended up being a problem. But it's not just me. Women, I'm sure, Kevin, you have women that you all both coach that bring this topic up. So we ain't lying. Yeah. It's like it's happening. So Candace, with that being said, should a woman play small as much as possible, especially in the courting and dating stages, so she don't run them away and play low, submit, don't be too smart, don't be too well connected, don't be too much of anything so that he can feel good about himself and shine?
Well, here's the thing. You have to ask yourself, do you want to sacrifice who you are in order to have someone in your life?
Yep.
No,
I don't.
And no one should have to do that. Like, you don't ever deserve to have to do that, because first of all, you are the love of your life, right? So there's no partner that's worth sacrificing who you are at your very core. So the playing small, the pretending, all of that stuff that does manipulate a man into your life, you know, all those tactics, you got to be willing to keep them up for a very long time if you want to keep that partner in your life. And is he worth it? I don't know anybody who's worth that. I don't know family members that are worth giving up who I am.
Yeah.
What do you think, Coach AJ?
I entirely agree. I think that kind of setup is as I referred to earlier, is drama.
Yeah.
So and when you think of power, I would suggest you think about power in terms of responsibility. And if you're in a relationship and you are sharing responsibility and you are clearly articulating what responsibilities you're sharing, even if you're not like paired, if coupled or living together in an official way, when you go out on a date and you're clear about who's paying for what. You know, I don't have any particular hangups around that. If a woman wants to pay for it one night, fine. If I want to pay for it one night, fine. But if we're clear about that relationship, that's fine. If she has expectations that are otherwise, it gets a little dicey if I don't know those expectations. So responsibility in a relationship is what is the fuel, or call it the conduit or channel for the power of that relationship. A relationship, when you think about power couples, they are partners. They are collaborative. They are almost, they're synthesized. They're not the same. They're not codependent, but you notice the power couples, like think about power couple that I've met, Courtney, what is his last name? Angela Bassett, Courtney Vance and Angela Bassett. Oh, phenomenal couple. You can just feel the vibe of their complementary nature. And they have been in Hollywood. I think they've been married something like 30 years. You don't make it through that system in that environment without a deep partnership and deep communication. So some of the things that I draw from that particular relationship is they have clear boundaries. They have clear agreements about how they operate together. They have clear ways of negotiating when they enter into a space. How do I spend time with you? How do I hang out with the people I want to hang out with? So there's not a lot of drama available because the communication lines have been clearly drawn. And so the more we can be clear, the more responsible we can be, the more power can flow in our relationship. But the more drama we invite, the more drain of that power comes to our relationship. And you start spending all your time trying to fill up those holes.
With
and
more
compensate
and more
for all the insecurities that keep popping up, like you plugging holes with your fingers.
Absolutely. That's why they say rejection is God's protection. Someone sees you and they decide they don't want you based on seeing who you really are, let them go.
That's why I like coffee dates. Which is why I like coffee dates.
Wait, right? That's why you don't like us.
Nobody. Here's the thing: you can't guarantee somebody's going to see you on a coffee date.
No. But I strongly believe that if that's the tone that we set on a date, and we invite that kind of engagement, it's possible. And that doesn't mean it has to be a coffee date. You could have the same kind of transparent conversation, authenticity over $300 meal.
Yeah. Or on a walk.
Or on a walk. Yeah. Because I've done dates on the walk on Lakeshore Drive. I've had a date, sitting out on Hyde Park Boulevard, just grabbing a little drink at Mellow Yellow.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. But what matters is the intention of authenticity that you bring to it. Because then you really get to know who you're getting to know. Be an invitation.
Well, I hear that.
Right. Well, I think it a lot of times also depends on how attractive you are to the person. Because some of these coffee dates, women don't mind, especially if he's fine. These ugly dudes, you need to go ahead and pay.
I think get a lot.
I got to get something out of this because I just sat and looked at her ass for oh. So feed me, Seymour. Feed me. When it comes to respect, though, in relationships, I know a lot of people are in relationships where they have found out that the person really doesn't respect them. Maybe they've shown themselves their true colors. Some things have happened, things have gone on, and it's been a constant buildup, and you just realize that there's no respect here. Especially during this quarantine, there's some people that are actually meeting their partner for the first time. And I've people call me and I hear some of these things. I'm like, because they ain't never really had to just be in a house together and couldn't go anywhere. And things have transpired, and they're realizing at the other side of this quarantine, they may not want to be in this relationship anymore. Right. Can you recover from some incident or some things happening where the respect was lost, or is it all gone? Candace, can you, if once I've been disrespected especially on several occasions by my partner, is there any coming back from that? I mean, how many apologies can he or she give and I still stick around?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I don't think there's any hard and fast rule because every relationship is different. But when you're really connected to loving yourself, you know when it doesn't feel right. You know when whatever you're dealing with is demeaning and diminishing you. And if you're willing to be honest with yourself, there's no coming back from being demeaned and diminished if what you feel for yourself is love and worthiness. And because you're just not gonna let anybody treat you like that, at least not for any period of time. And I think that that's true for men and women.
Yeah, I agree.
What do you say,
I think there's we have to learn how to set our standards.
Yeah.
And if we set our standards high, then we run the likelihood of having a better relationship because we're filter bad possibilities out. But if someone were to disrespect me in a relationship, and it has happened on several occasions, it's I think of it like this, that the degree to which I'm willing to forgive, and forgiveness is a very woolly subject, honestly, because it's too ambiguous to really say everybody should just forgive, because there are all kinds of contexts that we need to consider before saying I forgive you. And I think we probably, on a whole, as a society, we forgive too quickly without having resolved the commensurate angst or hurt or pain that's inside of us. To say I forgive you and go right back into it without dealing with whatever actually happened emotionally in me or in them is dangerous. Because all that is putting a stopper on something. Right.
Get off the word too quickly.
Yeah, you just putting a stopper on a bubbling bottle, and that's going to blow up at some point later down the road. For me, recovery is about transparency. If someone can be absolutely transparent to me and say, here's where I messed up, I'm working on it, I'm not perfect, I know I need to do this work, we can talk about recovery. But I need to see evidence of that recovery, because trust once lost has to be re-earned. I can trust somebody implicitly at the beginning because nothing has happened to make me not want to trust somebody. But if trust has been broken and that sense of alignment has been broken, it has to be re-earned and rebuilt. And a relationship can be stronger after something like that happens, if that mutuality exists.
When is it time to say, you know what, this person ultimately just honestly does not respect you? It is what it is. And maybe it's just a difference in value system or something. Let me tell y'all something that happened to me.
Yes, tell us.
I had a boyfriend. I don't know why this popped in my head. This color red is reminding me of it because I had a piggy bank. I had a big, huge piggy bank in my apartment in Brooklyn when I lived in New York that I had been putting loose change in for years. That's how big this piggy bank was. And I had said, when this piggy bank is full, I'm going to use this to open up my first business account. Once I register my LLC, this is going to be my first deposit for my production company that I want to start. Now, I had a little loser boyfriend, with me all the time at my house, whatever. And one day I went to my piggy bank to lift it up, and it was light as hell. And this piggy bank had just been damn near full months ago. I found out this trifling Negro had been digging his finger down in between the slot of the piggy bank and stealing loose change out.
That's financial abuse.
Yeah! They were using me for my money, my piggy bank money. And This guy, I mean, I say he was a loser. He wasn't a loser financially. He had money. He had things he was doing. Whenever he just needed a little bit of loose change or something, he was going in my piggy bank. But I had explained to him what that piggy bank was about and what it meant to me. Now, there's somebody on the outside looking in and be like, Erica, it was a dumb thing to get mad about. But I felt like you didn't ask me for the change. You knew what you were doing was wrong because you didn't cut the pig open damn near with your fingers, stealing out my quarters and nickels and dimes. He left the pennies. So you knew what you were doing. You were calculated. You were just callous. Stuff like even the simplest of things to me, I think sometimes can speak to a bigger level of disrespect. He just didn't think my piggy bank was important. Do I stay in that or do I break up with him, put him out, and never speak to him again like I did?
I mean,
I got a question for you.
Go ahead, Erica. I know. You always want to collect data, don't you, Coach?
Oh no. This is gonna do something. What does the piggy bank represent to you?
That piggy bank, even though I had bought it was the first thing I bought when I lived in New York from a dollar store. And it was huge. I'd never seen a piggy bank this big before. And it was really cute. Real cute, chubby, plus size piggy. And I was like, something just said, New York is going to be a struggle. It's going to be hard living here doing what you do. But every little bit of loose change you get, don't waste nothing. Put it in that. And then one day you're going to repurpose it and you're going to open an account with that.
Yeah. So that was attached to your dreams.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he disrespected your dreams.
Yes. Absolutely.
It was not about the piggy bank. It wasn't about the slit in the plastic. It was the fact that he knew what that thing meant to you.
Yeah.
And he still violated it.
And when I broke up with him, that was, y'all, the last straw. And I had some friends like, girl, are you really that serious? Is it that serious as a piggy bank? And I was just like, first of all, don't y'all think that's trifling for a man to be sneaking in somebody's piggy bank? Just the thought of it was just weird to me. But yeah, I was like, he disrespected me. And then a friend said, your standards, you need to bring the standards down a bit. That wasn't disrespect, but I disagree. And I think that no matter how small the incident is like Coach KJ, what I hear you saying is that it depends on what things are attached to that determine the level that something truly is disrespected. And I felt really disrespected by him going in my piggy bank. Yeah. And I mean,
tell him how you felt about it as you were putting him out. Did you tell him like what it meant? Yeah.
Then after that, I found out he was cheating on me with this ugly white girl. But that's beside the point. The first thing that was the problem was the piggy bank.
Well, and again, that was about your dreams. That was about your aspirations. That was about your origin story in New York. So there's a lot of history in that. You had filled it up with your extra earnings. Story. I mean, really, yeah. I mean, this was a collective experience of your time in New York, and he was stealing that from you.
But that also, with what KJ is talking about, is that also speaks to why it's so important in the beginnings to be really authentic and sharing about who you are, like what is important to you. Because sometimes one person will perceive something as a nothing, and the other person is like, that represents my dream. So to him, it might have been like, oh, I'm sleeping with you, I can take some quarters. And to you, you were like, this was a serious project for me. So that communication never really happened. He didn't get an opportunity to do the thing with integrity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? At all. If it was nothing to him, then it was nothing to him, you know?
And the extremes that you went through to dig, y'all know when the cheap piggy bank is made out of plastic, that little slit up at the top.
Right.
The extremes this Negro went through to dig, look around, and dig in the red piggy bank and get all up in there all good and steal my change.
It's trifling.
I was like, this is ridiculous. That's crazy. So anyway, but yeah, I don't know. Some of the things, it's easy to look on the outside looking in and judge relationships. But I've seen couples recover from things that I think are just the ultimate piece of disrespect. I mean, I know a girl who right now, she and her sister are both pregnant by her fiance.
Woo!
And I think they both gonna stay with him.
Okay.
What you say about that data, Coach KJ? What's that?
I say some family issues.
a little dysfunction boiling up.
There's some. I'd go back to the family a little bit on that one. I don't know.
Right.
That transcends coaching to me. That's a therapeutic intervention that needs to be had. Ayanla doesn't have anything for that one.
That is crazy. She's not a good friend. She's one of those people that you meet at a random bus stop one day and y'all just have a connection. Then throughout life, you're like, something ain't right. It's some drama, like you're saying, Coach KJ, that some people can't function without the elements of drama being added to her life. And she's one of those people, but I'm just like, I don't know how you forgive that, because that man has no respect for either one of them. And they don't respect themselves. So I don't,
that's what makes the relationship work.
She's not watching this show.
We also get really good at just stuffing it down. Like what Kate was talking about earlier about forgiving too quickly. I think it's forgiving too quickly and not knowing properly what forgiveness is, because forgiveness isn't always staying with somebody. It's allowing yourself to process what happened, but we're really good at just stuffing it somewhere so that we can still have a relationship, or so that we can still hold on to that man, or so we can still save face. We'll stuff it somewhere and then it turns into disease years later. Or, we're fighting, throwing somebody's clothes on the yard and setting things on fire. So, right. That's the thing. It's like, how much are you willing to stuff down and pretend like it's not a problem?
Right.
And there's also a factor of, the economic cost of breaking up. How many times have we seen relationships that have been purely financial in nature because there's no love, there's great disrespect, there's no communication, but they're together because of the kids or because the finances wouldn't work if they weren't together, or the risk was too high for a woman to leave a relationship with her kid because she didn't have her own job. So there's all kinds of socioeconomic issues that factor into the power dynamic as well. That, abuse at home. Why wouldn't a woman who's being abused by her husband leave that relationship? Whole lot of different reasons. It's not as cut and dry as saying, well, just get out, because where do they go? If they're in an abusive relationship, the likelihood is that they have some kind of dysfunction in their own home family that probably created the opportunity for that relationship. So where do they go?
Where do they go? Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, I was 4 years in an abusive relationship because I wanted to keep a rent stabilized apartment in New York. So you can stuff down a lot because you're worried about your safety, your survival.
Yes.
And New York real estate prices will make you stay in some shit you don't. Living with the dude with the, we broke up immediately, but he didn't move out immediately. And he still ended up being around, but for a small time. But that was it. But New York will make you do that. So with that being said, before we get out of here, any final words or things that you want to say, especially when it comes to money, power, and respect, and how all those dynamics work together in relationships, especially to those of us that are single and looking and want somebody? What are the things that we should be thinking about in order to meet the right person and have success? Of course, I know, have a coffee date and get lots of data. That's the first thing.
Micro date.
Yes, but no, just messing with you. But yeah, what tell us what to do, y'all. We don't know what to do.
Go ahead, Candace. You got it.
Well, as far as money, power, and respect are concerned, I think that those are things that are, for me, I really believe that money and our relationship with money is really representative of our relationship with ourselves. And most of what I do around coaching is around self-love. I always say it's a Trojan horse for self-love. And I always have a 3-part thing: heal the past, love yourself, and start your love life over from a clean slate. And you can do that at any time of your life. I say it like it's easy 3-step process. Sometimes it takes time. Sometimes it doesn't take time. It's just the willingness to know that if you love yourself and have a good relationship with yourself, you don't have to be focused on money, power, and respect, because you will attract those things just based on how much you feel worthy.
Wow. Thank you, Candace, for that. What about you, Coach KJ?
Well, I think leave drama behind. take responsibility for your life, and own your power. Relationships come in line. They fall in line. If you stop your own drama, take responsibility for your life and own your power.
Yes.
You're all creators. We're all divinely made. We are creators by nature. Our word is powerful. Our decisions, our intentions are powerful. When we start walking in less drama, more responsibility, and more power, our relationships will be exactly what we want them to be.
Well, we started off my show talking about superheroes. I do have to ask you, when you have these people out here that are super hoes that just need to fly around everywhere to save the day with their vaginas and penises, leap tall penises in a single bound, and just, you know, and some of them are super hoe villains or whatever. Like, can you turn a super hoe into a husband or a housewife, right? Or is it better for us to just let the super hoes stay to themselves and we go off and do our superhero things on our own?
Can I jump on this one? Can I do this one?
Yeah.
Okay. So here's the thing. If you want to be a hoe, be a hoe. You said it earlier, Erica. You said it. You nailed it. Because if you're clear about what your intentions are, what you want from a relationship or a non-relationship, then as long as that's clear, there is no harm, no foul.
Yeah.
Now, if you have a kind of a shifty intention where you want someone to pay your bills in exchange for money, but he wants a relationship, but that's not what you want, you're gonna have problems. If you say you want a baby and he doesn't, but then you give him the good stuff, hoping that he's going to say, I changed my mind. I want a baby now. Well, you're setting yourself up for something. He already told you he doesn't want a kid. Why would you try to convince him otherwise? You know, and so I think we get caught up in these things where we're trying to change someone's way of being. And I think ultimately the whole metaphor, the whole archetype is the one who's also transactional. And as long as that transaction is transparent, go for it. But if that transaction has layers to it and nuances to it, you're heading for trouble.
Transparent transactions. I'm putting that in the comments so I can remember. Transparent about your transaction hoes.
And that's for men and women. That's for men and women. I'm not saying that's just for women. You know, I saw somebody say it was easier said than done, but you know, it's.
Oh, somebody did put that. Where is that? Yeah. Steve.
Well, I mean, that's life. Life is easier said.
Thank you. Yeah.
You're willing to live your life and have what you want, or you're gonna do the easy thing, which is not have what you want.
Yep.
Right.
If anybody has a question, really quickly, hurry up and type it because we're going to be ending the show in about the next 5 minutes. So while we have Candace here and Coach KJ here, which by the way, y'all are both so fun. I have to ask you now, Candace, are you single? Are you in a relationship, or what's going on?
I am just actively dating after a long stint. I told you I was in an abusive relationship for 4 years. Wow. And I had to purposely, because I spent most of my adult life avoiding being single. And avoiding being single can get you in a lot of trouble. So I finally decided to take a singlehood for the last couple of years to just be with myself, grow my coaching business, do my thing. And so now I'm newly dating, and there are a couple possibilities. We'll see where it goes.
Yeah. What about you, Coach KJ?
I am in a relationship.
You're in a relationship.
And so, okay, here's the thing. The book that I wrote was the product of breaking up with someone I was engaged with a few years ago. Wow. And I actually went on a dating spree after about maybe 6 months of not talking to anybody, just kind of healing, recovering. I went on a dating spree with the intention of dating as many women as I could meet and get to know for me. Because I wanted to meet, because I grew up in the church, where if you dated more than one person at a time, you must be a hoe.
Yeah.
So I had to get that out of my head. And so I wasn't trying to I wasn't trying to bone everybody I was going out with. That was not my intention. It was more, I wanted to learn more about myself. And the process of doing that gave me some tools to be able to say, oh, well, okay, now I don't need to date 100 people. I can date a few, and I can actually pay attention to all these details that I really want to pay attention to. But I needed that immersion. But I met someone a few months ago, and it has been probably one of the easiest evolutions of a friendship to a relationship that I've ever experienced. And it's been really wonderful to experience it, but also to still be dating.
Yeah.
We're still, kind of in that space of where we're seeing each other. It's kind of weird,
Right.
but it's real like that. So it's been really good.
I really think what you're talking about, KJ, is something I think that women could take a page from men's book when it comes to vetting and dating, because men are so good at dating to see. Whereas women, we're like, okay, this one's got a few things, so let me take him and I can work with the rest.
Right.
Very much like, okay, she's got this, but not that. Let me try this other one. Let me see. Let me try to get to know her. And the one who really stands out wins.
Yeah.
As opposed to, let me try to make her be who I want her to be. I think we could take a page from men's book in that way.
Well, I have a podcast called Get in the Game. It's a dating podcast. I need to talk about it more on my show, but I don't. But my mantra right now is that I want to date 5 men like they're a basketball team and put them in rotation. I have a 6-man on the bench. And
but I want to know, is your bench deep though?
You know what? Listen. Right now, my bench the season is on halt because of the pandemic. But the NBA just announced that the season's probably going to start back, I think, like in August. So maybe I'll, pick a team back up then. But I'm basically I learned from having some very close friends of mine that are NBA players and watching the way in which schools scouted them when they were in high school. And even once they had careers, when contracts would end, the way teams would scout them, I was just like, man, the attention and the love and the way they're courting you to get you to be on the team, like that is powerful. So I was like, let me go ahead and put a team on rotation. And I'm going to be Phil Jackson. I'm going to eventually get me Michael Jordan.
Right.
I got me a Scottie Pippen that's already upset about his contract because he's not getting paid. I got me a Horace Grant with big fucked up ass glasses. But ultimately, I want a championship team so I can get a championship ring. But the mindset was just that as a Black woman, especially, we really don't learn how to date. Because when I tell people, oh, I want to date 5 men at once. Oh, you a hoe. No, I didn't say sleep with. I just said casually get to know and have fun. And I find that I thought men would be the ones most upset by my podcast, which is really fun. And it's a sports analogy, and I don't know shit about sports. Yeah. But women have been the ones fighting me on it, telling me that's not a good thing. It'll never work. And I'm like, a lot of the women I know that have successful relationships dated more than one person at a time.
Definitely.
Yeah. So let me see. Does somebody have a question for y'all here? Oh no, they're laughing. Okay. Well, with that being said, I forgot to ask y'all what y'all drinking. Coach KJ, what you been drinking this whole time?
Well, I put it away. It was some Disaronno and Jack. That's what that was. Gentleman Jack.
Gentleman. Yeah. So small. I love that. And what are you, Candace? What are you drinking?
I call myself half being healthy because I like to make this little warm drink that has apple cider vinegar and lemon juice, but then I put a little shot of vodka in it.
Okay.
It aids with the digestion, cleans up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not as warm.
It does.
Good.
Oh, I love it. Well, I definitely want to say cheers to y'all. Thank you all for losing your virginity on my show. This is your first time on the show. I really enjoyed you all, and I appreciate your honesty and your I can tell that you all love helping people. Some people love coaches and stuff for different reasons. I get the feeling from both of you all that you really do want to see people succeed and have love in their life and to have great relationships. So it shines through the computer screen. So I'm happy to meet you all. And I hope you will come back on and have a nightcap with me and we'll talk about some more naughty stuff. Because I really gotta get in. I got so many questions, and really my audience does too. Like I have friends texting me now, telling me think, oh, well, ask this or what about this? But I'm not doing that today. I wanted to just have a free-flowing conversation. And Coach KJ, I'm gonna tell you one piece of advice with your new girlfriend that you like: never rob her piggy bank, and you'll be fine.
I'll leave that piggy bank alone.
I think it'll work out. You see, I'm really damaged by this, and this shit happened in like 2012. Maybe 2000.
Do I have some sage around here? I need
Yeah,
sage. I need to dab you a little bit.
Yeah, please sage me. Maybe like 2011. Yeah, that fool. My piggy bank. That fool. And y'all know it's a true story. Who can make that up? My ex stole all the change out of my piggy bank. That don't even sound like only. You can only say that if it really happened to you.
Right.
It happened. But whatever.
Angela said, when people show you who they are,
listen,
you gotta believe them.
Gotta believe it. And if he will rob your red piggy bank, he ain't shit. Know that.
They're digging.
Listen.
Cutting his finger, trying to steal some quarters.
Right. All cut the whole hand. You know, I'm noticing things. I'm like, oh, what's wrong with your hand? I'm thinking something happened at work. You know, sexually assaulted my damn piggy bank. Only me. Only me. But with that being said, I love y'all. Thank you all for coming on, and I hope to have you all again on real soon, sometime in June. If you have time. Come on by. Yes.
Nice to meet you, Candace.
All right. Good night, y'all. You. Love you too.
Okay.
You all see Candace's and Coach KJ's information floating on the bottom of the show. It's been going on the whole thing. So please reach out to them. Say hello. They are both coaches. They are professional and certified. And if you really want to see some change in your love life or even your professional life and the things you're doing, reach out to Coach Candace or Coach KJ and let them work on you, do their magic and get you together. I'm probably going to give me some private sessions with them myself. With that being said, thank you all for tuning in. If you've been here the whole 2 hours with me, you know this has been a rough ride. I started off, being very emotional about the George Floyd situation and the Breonna Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery, all the things that are going on and beyond. Sandra Bland. There have been so many people that their lives have been lost to the hands of police. I know there's violence and there's crime in relationship in neighborhoods where things are going on, not at the hands of police, but we weren't talking about that tonight. I wanted to really talk about that aspect of it. And I'm praying for all these families. I'm praying for all of us that we all, when we leave the house, make it back home safe to our families and not have to worry about the people that are supposed to protect and serve us to harm us. With that being said, I love you all. Thank you so much for watching the show. Tomorrow night, the show is called Sex Sales. Once again, talking about money, power, and respect. I got the fairy Whole Mother who owns Whole University, and she's going to come on and we're going to talk about the price we pay for sexual satisfaction. She teaches women how to be phone sex operators, and she makes a lot of money doing it. So I trust what she says. But even if you don't want to make money talking about sex on the phone or having sex by phone, it's still good to learn how to do it. Then I also have the owner of Pure Pole Fitness coming to teach us some pole dance moves. And we're also going to talk to her about the money that's involved in pole dancing. And then I have Art Sims, Chat Daddy Art Sims, and Chantel Jameson. They're both relationship and dating experts. And we're going to talk about power dynamics in relationships and sex selling. What are you using? What are you willing to sell to get the sex life that you want? You get what you pay for, right? All right, y'all. Good night. It's going to be good tomorrow night. It's going to be a naughty show, and I'm not going to cry. I'm not gonna cry. I'm not gonna shed no tears. Ooh, I'm not gonna cry. Not worth my time. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Good night, y'all. Have a good old night. Sleep well. I think I might eat an edible because the bitch is hungry, but I don't feel like cooking nothing and it's too late. But the cookies are already baked. Somebody gotta eat them. Hey, it's Erica from the South Side of the Chi, and I just completed the 2020 census. If you're not counted in, you'll be counted out. And I don't know about you, baby, but I want to be in, not out. What are you waiting for? Take the census. Go to 2020census.gov.